Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today I'm going to show you how to master your chord inversions. And if you're a fan of our work at the London Contemporary School of Piano, you should head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, to claim your free resources kit, which accompanies these videos, including this one. We have an inversions pack, which is really going to help you. This is a topic that many students struggle with, chord inversions. The problem people have when they play inversions, when they're looking at a lead sheet and they can see the chord that they're moving to in a composition or in a chord progression, where they have trouble is how to quickly calculate an inversion to play and where to most efficiently move on the piano with a nice effective inversion voicing. And that saves you from jumping all over the place looking for the chord. And many students just don't have a process of being able to get this under the fingers. They resort to more traditional ways of learning and calculating inversions, for instance, by using language like root position, first inversion, second inversion, and all of that has a place. But it's not particularly practical when you're on a D major chord and you've got to quickly find a way to get to a G minor chord, for instance. So how do you find the most efficient, closest voicing to the chord that you're targeting? So I'm going to show you some really powerful systems to help you do that and achieve that. And if we take it from an angle of pop music, you think of the Elton Johns and the Billy Joels of the world, it's really quite interesting because if you notice them playing their music live, they will always play their music differently when it comes to the inversions. So one night, the Billy Joel might start playing Piano Man with the first chord in first inversion. The next night, he might start on second inversion. The next night, he might start in root position on the chords. And the artist will just draw their own path throughout the piece that's smooth for them, but it'll never be the same. Yet the chords for the song might be exactly the same every time they play the piece, and it usually is in the case of pop music. It's just that the inversions that are being used is totally disposable to the artist because it doesn't really fundamentally change the song. And that's because it's really under their fingers. And these systems are going to help you think a little bit more like that. And just be able to look at a chord progression and try it in different inversions. So I'm going to show you some crucial chord relationships that will really help you think about this in a different way. So the first chord relationship we're going to think about is a perfect fourth upwards. And what I mean by that is when you have two chords that are a perfect fourth apart from each other. Like for instance, a C major to an F major, or it could be a D major to a G major. So whenever you see chords that are moving up a perfect fourth in a chord progression, all you need to do is simply lift the top two notes. Like that. Think of John Lennon's Imagine. C major to F major. He doesn't do this. Jump up to the F major like that. He's just literally lifting the top two notes. So if you ever see that relationship on a chord chart or in a chord pattern, C to F, perfect fourth apart, you only have to lift the top two notes. So let's make a chord progression that utilizes that so we can get it under the hands and practice it. What about this one? C major, lift the top two notes, F major. What about then to D minor? Lift the top two notes, G major. Let's do that again. C major. Lift the top two notes, F major. D minor. Lift the top two notes, G major. And I just played a simple chord sequence there in the key of C major, chords 1, 4, 2, and 5. And for the purpose of this exercise, when you're working out inversions, it's really useful to think of it as root chord, inversion, root chord inversion. It's like a 50-50 effect. That's a really good place to start because then you're just thinking of the chords in groups of two. You're not just having to give yourself a mountain to climb of calculating all of these inversions. You notice there I didn't think about chords in terms of root chord, first inversion, second inversion. I just got straight to the point. It's like, okay, lift the top two notes, and I end up on the chord that is a perfect fourth above. Now there will be some differences, like for instance, I could be going from a C major to an F minor instead of an F major. Now if I was traveling to an F minor, I have to adjust my notes accordingly. I still got the F in the middle of the chord, but rather than the A natural at the top, it would be an A flat. So I still have to think of the chord I'm actually traveling to, but the motion remains the same. I'm lifting the top two notes to get to the target chord, which is in the bass a perfect fourth apart. That relationship works anywhere on the piano, so I could do the same thing in D major. Let's try it out for size. D major to G. E minor, lift the top two notes, A major. I'll do that again. D major, lift the top two notes, G major. E minor, lift the top two notes, A major. Let's try it in the key of F major now. F major, lift the top two notes, B flat major. G minor, lift the top two notes, C major. F major, lift the top two notes, B flat major. G minor, lift the top two notes, C major. And already this is so much more efficient than doing it like this. Now the power of these exercises, and you should be practicing these exercises, drilling them into the fingers, programming your muscle memory. And you should do that by getting our resources kit from our website, because we've got these inversion packs and exercises in there. By doing that and drilling it into your hands and your fingers, when you look at lead sheets, your fingers are more intelligent than you might know. They might be even ahead of your brain. Because when you look at the lead sheet and you see these jumps, your fingers will say, wait a minute, I know there's an easier way. I can just lift the top two notes. So the muscle memory, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're learning inversions, which is a theoretical construct, but we're learning it from a muscle memory perspective. And that is really the key to great piano playing, is that we are translating theory to our muscle memory. That's the most important thing, not the theory, the translation of that into muscle memory. Better to know less theory and get it into the muscle memory, and this is really useful theory. Just lift the top two notes. I'm speaking finger language here. Lift the top two notes, and we end up moving up a fourth. Let's try it in one more key. What about a key like E flat major, so we can challenge ourselves on some of these flat chords like E flat, A flat, F minor, B flat. So I play it with the inversions. I lift the top two notes, A flat major, F minor. I lift the top two notes, B flat major. And you can even annotate it on your music, on your sheet music, by using arrows. Just lift up the top two notes. And you'll notice in our inversions pack from our website, I've just put some simple shorthand arrows to help you calculate the notes. It's just an easy way for our fingers to understand, not our brain, but our fingers. Okay, so that's one relationship. If we lift the top two notes, we've jumped up a fourth, C major to F major, for instance, or C minor to F major, or C major to F minor, whatever the major-minor combination may be. Here's another relationship. We're now going to drop the bottom two notes. Now, when you drop the bottom two notes, C major, we're now going down a fourth to G major, or up a fifth, depends which one way you want to measure it, but we're going down a fourth or up a fifth by literally just dropping the bottom two notes. So we get C major to G major. Drop the bottom two notes, G major. Let's try this on an A minor now. A minor, drop the bottom two notes, E minor. F major, drop the bottom two notes, C major. Let's do that again. Drop the bottom two notes. Let's just speak that finger language. A minor. Drop the bottom two notes. F major. drop the bottom two notes. Let's try that in another key. What about F major? F major. Drop the bottom two notes. D minor. Drop the bottom two notes. B flat major. Drop the bottom two notes. So by dropping the bottom two notes from any given place, I end up moving up a fifth or down a fourth. That's D major to A major, E major to B major, F major to C major. Here's another really nice relationship. What if we wanted to move down a third, C major to A minor? Well, a really nice way to do that is just simply by doing one really simple thing, just lifting the top note by itself. C major to A minor. So lifting the top two notes, we get C major, A minor. Let's explore this relationship. What about E minor to C major? What about F major to D minor? G major to E minor? A minor to F major? You know, you can hear it almost sounds like a choir. And you can do this in different keys. What about F major, D minor, A minor, F major, B flat major, lift the top note, G minor, C major, lift the top note for an A minor, D minor, lift the top note for a B flat major. And it does sound like a choir, because the principle of great choir music and choir writing, by the way, which is where inversions originate from. They don't originate from the piano, because singing existed well before the keyboard instrument did. And what happened with the history of Western harmony in chorale music and choir music? Well, it started with one note with Gregorian chant, and then they added more notes and harmonies on top of that to create polyphony and counterpoint. And then eventually composers were writing nice big chunky chords in their music. But of course, if they were going to go from a C major to an A minor, they're not going to make the bass and the tenor and the sopranos and the altos all jump in the same direction like that, because that's quite bland and maybe a little less musical. So instead, we keep the common notes from the previous chord. You get a C major, keep the common notes there, C and E, and you just have the sopranos jumping up to the A. And we get a brand new chord, let the bass travel down to the A. So this all came from the choir originally. Inversions are just keyboard inversions are just a variation of that on the keyboard instrument, the piano. And you get different independent voices in the music moving in different directions to form the new chord in a smoother way. And that's the whole purpose of inversions, is to create smooth transitions between your chords. So when you experiment doing this, when you see a chord progression of a song, think of the chords in groups of two: root chord, inversion. This is just such a great way to do it, because you've got your root chord and you think, okay, my next chord's an A major. What's the most efficient way for me to get there? Well, what's the relationship? It's a fifth up, okay, I can drop the bottom two notes. Or is it a fourth up? I can lift the top two notes. Is it a third down? I can lift the top note. It's those little relationships that you can use to help yourself understand and train yourself, as well as your muscle memory, to play effective inversions in your music making. So have some fun experimenting with this, and be sure to get our resources kit from our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and we'll be able to help you with these exercises. But if you are ready to take your playing to the next level, you might be the right fit for our Complete Musician program, which is accumulation of my last 20 years of research and development in dynamic music education for the 21st century piano student. The Complete Musician program consists of 7 modules that I have created, 7 modules of different elements of music making built on 4 important pillars: chords, 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 including inversions like we've covered today. And there's lots of inversion exercises. How to get around the piano and create beautiful chord progressions and play chord progressions and render chord progressions on the piano in a musical way that tells a musical story. Now we add to that rhythm and groove, and there's a big aspect of groove playing in the course to bring your chords to life. The third pillar being improvisation, where we learn to free ourselves up and create melody from our chord progressions. And the fourth pillar, which is arrangement and integration, something that is far more challenging and takes a longer time to master. But with those 3 first pillars in front of you, you have a real foundation to learn piano with more structure, but also to be more creative and expressive with the piano, and to also just let yourself be able to play the music you want to play on the instrument in your own terms. So whilst you're working through these inversion exercises, this might also be something that is of interest to you. And if it is, just ask us any questions you might have about the course just by visiting our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com. We'd only be more than happy to help you out. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a lovely day.